Good morning, folks. Apologize for running a minute late. So much happening today. I'm really excited. Glad we can be together today. There's so much happening. It's just so much to digest. I wish I had another 4 hours to prepare for this show. It is just a lot. We're going to talk about everything that's happening in D.C. There's some new updates in Syria. It is just so much incredible history just unfolding right now in front of us. And the Republican Party is in complete and utter chaos. But we're going to take all of these events and the reasons behind them, and we're going to break them down into an easy to understand format, easy to digest. Let's do this. Good morning, everybody. So this is happening. Yeah, how many times have we said it? Republicans just cannot govern. They cannot govern. There's a speaker vote coming up on January 3rd. And as things stand right now, Mike Johnson will not be the Speaker of the House in the next session. He is facing a full-on revolt from his own party. Let's talk about how we got here. This is what's happened. Just like the border bill, Democrats and Republicans sat down and did their job. They did. They ground the sausage, the ugly stuff that nobody likes to watch happen. You end up with these bills that not everybody's happy with, but they're bipartisan bills. They tend to be pretty decent bills that keep the government running. I mean, democracy, that kind of thing. Well, Donald Trump and Elon Musk, President Musk and his vice president, Donald Trump, decided they didn't want that bill to go through. And just like the border bill, they killed it. They killed it. That bipartisan bill disappeared. And then the Republicans brought to the floor what I call the bait and switch bill, which is they took a bunch of provisions out of the agreed upon bill and said, okay, Democrats, vote for it. And much to the Democrats' credit, we played a clip from Jasmine Crockett where she talked about, or actually we talked about it with Brando. I was on Brando's show yesterday, Tennessee Brando's show. We were talking about that yesterday. Jasmine Crockett said, I think I'm just going to sit here and sip my tea until they figure out what the hell they're doing on the other side of the aisle. And Hakeem Jeffries said, no, I don't think it's our job to pass bills that we didn't agree on. We're not going to just take a bait and switch bill. No, we had an agreement. Agreements mean something. Either stand up to your agreement or we're not voting for this. And Republicans are in utter, complete disarray. They are completely factionalized. And they didn't have the votes. They couldn't pass their own bill. So we're facing a default. It's that simple. They're not going to raise the debt ceiling. They're going to run over the deadline again because the Republicans aren't even close to ironing out a bill that they can all vote for. And we've been here before, and a lot of people, the corporate media is trying to sane wash this nonsense, and they're like, "Well, don't worry, don't stress, it's not a big deal." They're even quoting Donald Trump as saying, "Oh, well, if we default, no big deal." Donald Trump has been out there making statements that he clearly does not understand what defaulting on our debts means and what happens when we run up against the debt ceiling. He clearly, by the statements he made, does not understand what is happening at all. Elon Musk does, and Elon Musk is out making public statements that, oh well, let it happen. Let it happen. Better all these horrible things happen than we just pass what he calls a bad bill. So the Republicans are paralyzed. They are completely paralyzed. Yeah, no kidding, E.T. Amen. You hit it right on that. He's a terrible Lex Luthor. Well, thank you, BJM. I appreciate you, brother, but don't do that, man. You got to, like the stewardess say, man, you got to put your own mask on first, brother. You got to take care of yourself first, my man. The Republicans, Marie Craft, how are we going to get rid of Musk? The Republicans will do that for Donald Trump's going to do that for us because basically Elon Musk is running the government right now. Elon Musk is running the Republican Party right now. And Donald Trump is a vain, narcissistic jackass. This is going to lead to a civil war within the Republican Party because Elon Musk may have a faction of young people that follow him. That you've seen the muskrats. I mean, they're disgusting on social media. They are, and it's clear they're young, bigoted, white supremacist little twats. But no, Donald Trump is the cult leader, and he is not going to cotton this. He's not going to cotton to this. Right now, we have this amazing thing happening. Lori, thanks for the support. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate you always being here. Thank you, Lori. This amazing thing is happening right now. You have Rand Paul from Kentucky who has come out and said, look, let's just make Elon Musk Speaker of the House. Come January 3rd, my nominee for Speaker of the House is going to be Elon Musk. Not kidding. And there's no legal reason. Elon Musk is an immigrant. He's an illegal immigrant. Is an immigrant who came here illegally, I should say. And he can't be president. You have to be a U.S. born citizen to be president. But no, he can be Speaker of the House. There's no reason he cannot be Speaker of the House. And you would just shrug it off as just Rand Paul, right? I mean, he says and does the stupidest thing. Oregon Wine Lady, this is bad, Bill. You know he hasn't read it. Geez, yeah, no kidding. Donald Trump did not. He doesn't even know what's in the majority of this bill. But there are some things he knows, and we're going to talk about why he killed this bill. Sherry Foster, how about deporting you? Amen. Amen. I'm with you on that. But it's not just nutball Rand Paul. It's not. If you're not following Aaron Rupar on Blue Sky, you need to. You need to. He was one of the few people that was on X. Aaron Rupar, A-Scene, that they are great sources of video. If you're like me, I can read something 5 times, but if I have a discussion about it or I see a video on it, I've got it 100%. But if I really want to understand a complex subject, when I'm reading it, I've got to read it, then I've got to reread it. Aaron Rupar is just priceless if you want quick information people saying things right out of their mouths. I always recommend it. But he's got a video here that's just going to blow your absolute mind. This is the Benny Show. Again, you've got a Russian paid asset here. But this is Senator Mike Lee.
That's the case. I think we need to go outside the box. I think we need to look to a different place. Remember, neither the Constitution nor the House rules require that the Speaker be a current member of the House of Representatives. And I propose.
That's not my internet, that's his.
That they swami. Look, the Doge movement is enormously popular in the House. Just listen to House members who are Republicans. They can't get enough of them, including many of the people who have been part of this swampy process. They praise Doge. Oh, Doge is going to save this. If that's the case, that being the case, given that they all have expressed such affection for Vivek and for Elon, let them choose one of them. I don't care which one to be their speaker. That would revolutionize everything. It would break up the firm. We would now have government of the people, by the people, and for the people.
Yeah, he really said that. He really, Vivek Ramaswamy or Elon Musk for Speaker of the House, because that would just give us government for the people, of the people, by the people. I mean, that's what billionaires are, right? They're the people, right? I mean, this insanity that somehow Elon Musk is the people. You know, up until recently, the richest man to have ever lived was an African by the name of Mansa Musa. And he was, by all accounts, an incredibly generous person. And he was so rich when he went on a pilgrimage and traveled across Africa. Just his traveling money, money he spent, he was so generous with every country he went into. I mean, he didn't invade countries. He just traveled. He was so rich that he destabilized the economies in every single country he went through by causing massive overnight inflation because they just spent so liberally. He was so generous with his money. His name was Mansa Musa, pardon me. You should read about it. It's really Mansa Musa was a really fascinating story. Was the richest man to ever live until now, which is now Elon Musk. But Elon Musk is not a generous man. He's greedy. He's self-centered. It's just disgusting on every level. I mean, he's just, and there's no actual, no one has been able, I've asked someone in business, I mean, with, somebody with an actual business acumen, explain to me the valuation of Tesla. Justify it. No one can, because no other car company is valued like Tesla is. But that's just a side note there. I mean, it makes no sense. Elon Musk is not the people. Hell, I don't even think he's the billionaires, to be quite honest with you. I think he's nuts. I do. And here you have Mike Lee talking about, we're going to have, oh yeah, do you make Elon Musk the speaker? Then we'll really have a government for the people. No, you'll have a government of a guy that writes you checks. That's what you'll have. Ravenhawk says, how could Elon be the speaker? He would be in line for the presidency and he wasn't born here. Yes, that's the thing. There's nothing that legally prevents him from being speaker. But yeah, that would put him in the line of succession for the presidency. He could not become president. So yeah, there would be legal battles over it and contention and whatnot. It's chaos. It's complete and utter chaos. You can be Speaker of the House. They could just decide, hey, you could be Speaker of the House. That's the way that works. I mean, they're one of the things that maybe we need to take a look at. I mean, we're talking about governing here. Thanks for the support, Kim. I appreciate you. But how did we get here? Let's keep talking about that. This isn't complicated. So the Republicans put forward a bait and switch bill, and Hakeem Jeffries and the Democrats said, no, we're not voting for it. They took things out of the bill. These are the kind of things that they took out of the bill, and here's why. This is RFK Stadium, or what's left of it. This is RFK Stadium and what's left of it. This is a pimple on the butt of Washington, D.C. It is just, you see, it's just sitting there rusting. It's empty. No one uses it. It's an eyesore and becoming, as you can imagine, you get a building like this that's just sitting empty. It can't be, it just dilapidates. It becomes a problem. It just becomes a problem. Combine that with the fact that it sits on some really prime real estate in Washington, D.C. Well, what do you do with it? Well, this is where the Washington Commanders, who are supposed to be the NFL team that represents Washington, D.C., play at. 1 second. Let's go to the map. This is Landover, Maryland. See this red dot here? This is Landover, Maryland. Landover, Maryland. That is where they play. There's a stadium right over here, Northwest Stadium. This is Northwest Stadium. And it's not really suitable for an NFL team. It's not. So you've got the Washington, D.C., the Washington Commanders. They play in Maryland at a stadium that really isn't designed to support an NFL team. Well, RFK Stadium, this is Washington, D.C. You've got the Lincoln Memorial, a straight line across to the Capitol building, and then here's that triangle that makes where you've got the White House, the Lincoln Memorial, the United States, and then you've got the National Mall here and Washington Monument. Just to give you an idea where it is, if you draw a straight line from the Lincoln Memorial to the Capitol, it goes to Anacostia Park. And right here is RFK Stadium. Waterfront, prime real estate, perfect for development. Here's the problem. It's owned by the federal government. That land is owned by the federal government. So, as part of this bill, they were going to pass ownership of that land to Washington, D.C. Easy enough. Let Washington, D.C. development. They're going to build a stadium and move the Washington Commanders to Washington, D.C. They gutted that from the bill. Why? Well, this is what the Republicans are saying it's all about. This is that you've got Chip Roy here. Chip Roy. Just disgusted. This is what old Chip Roy says it's all about.
And what are you doing in the same bill? $110 billion unpaid for. Because you never have any ounce of self-respect to go out and campaign saying you're going to balance the budget, and then you come in here and pass $110 billion unpaid for. On top of the $200 billion you did for WEP, you guys won't agree with that. But the fact of the matter is $330 billion. Congratulations, you've added to the debt since you were given the majority again on November 5th. It's embarrassing. It's shameful. Yes, I think this bill is better than it was yesterday on certain respects. But to take this bill yesterday and congratulate yourself because it's shorter in pages, but increases the debt by $5 trillion is asinine. And that's precisely what Republicans are doing. And what are you doing?
Sorry, I lost my audio for a second. That's an act. That is an act. That it's bullshit. And Hakeem Jeffries calls him out on it. I'm really proud of Hakeem Jeffries for stepping up. This was what Hakeem Jeffries had to say about this BS bait and switch bill and this indignation from Chip Roy and all whatnot. And I'll explain why that's an act in a second.
In our nation's 248-year history, 25% of our nation's debt was accumulated during the 4 years of the former president. 25%. How dare you lecture America about fiscal responsibility, ever? And then President Biden comes to office, gets big things done for the American people on infrastructure, on the CHIPS and Science Act, standing up a clean energy economy, rescuing America from a once-in-a-century pandemic, gets all of these big things done, partnering with House Democrats and Senate Democrats. And in the process, in his first 2 years, reduces the deficit by $1.7 trillion. And so we see a
It's a great clip. That one was brought to you by Acyn over on Blue Sky, ACYN. Another great follow if you want to see, if you don't have time to sit and watch this. That is a great speech, by the way. I would seriously advise go to C-SPAN, watch the whole thing. But if you don't have time to do that, follow Acyn on Blue Sky. He takes these videos, he cuts the clips out, makes them easy to digest, and you get the highlights of it. Another great follow. But yeah, this is it's garbage. It is garbage what they're talking about. Chip Roy's whole performance is just that it's performative, because that's not what it's about. What does transferring the land to DC over RFK Stadium have to do with the debt or any of that? Nothing. Who cares about real estate deals? Who is always greedy and grifting and trying to get his fingers into the middle of real estate deals, especially multi-billion-dollar real estate development deals? Mango Mussolini, Donald Trump. You wouldn't suppose that submarining this deal, that was a good thing for the people of Washington, D.C. You're talking about spurring development, bringing NFL franchises, for all the problematic tax breaks and crap that they get, tend to be moneymakers for communities. Dallas has done really well off the Dallas franchise. Houston has done really well off the Houston franchise. DC would benefit greatly from moving the Commanders, back to the place they're supposed to represent. But that's going to be a lot of money. That's a lot of prime waterfront real estate. I bet they're going to put a hotel in there. I bet they're going to put a waterfront hotel on that site. I wonder who would have wanted to hold up that deal. Just spitballing out there. I don't know. Maybe, Donald Trump. Had nothing to do with the debt and deficit and outrages. I tell you something else that had nothing to do with debt and deficit and outrages that they killed in that bill. There was $190 million for cancer research, and not just any cancer research. It's research on children with cancer. It's kind of a misnomer in the corporate media. They're saying all $190 million went to children's cancer research, but it didn't. It also went to fund the study of birth defects. Now, $90 million to you and me, that's a lot of cash. That really is. But it was nothing in respect to this bill. I mean, it doesn't even move it a percentage point. Why haul that out? I mean, really? That's the part you're going to haul out of the bill? This is where that money goes. There's a program administered by the National Institute of Health called the Gabriella Miller Kids First Pediatric Research, or Kids First program. And they fund research into pediatric cancer and birth defects. This is the actual site. One second. This is the actual site. Now, again, ask yourself, why this? Why, if you're going to gut stuff out of the bill, I mean, there are really fat targets in that bill. This one was not it. And this is kids. I mean, this is kids. Why? I mean, just, what does it do? I mean, it's funding 35 studies. They've got 6,500 different researchers that are using the data. Wait a minute, data. 100,000 samples. And when they say samples, what they're talking about is they take DNA samples from children that have pediatric cancers and birth defects. And they break down their genome, and they store that data in such a way that it's easily accessible. It's just good data. Who kills access to data? Who kills access to data? Well, I know they kill it on gun violence. I mean, they don't really want information out there about gun violence and whatnot. But why would you kill data on pediatric cancer? Can you see what I'm highlighting here? I know if you're on a small screen, it'll be hard to read, so I'll tell you. One of the things that they crunch the numbers on is cancer hotspots. Cancer hotspots. And if you know anything about litigation, or cancer hotspots are a big deal because they're usually caused by environmental influences. And those environmental influences usually have to do with some billionaire's company doing something that it probably shouldn't be doing. So yeah, that got hauled out of the bill. Why would you want $190 million to track why kids are getting cancer? Who would want that? Republicans? Republicans would want that. Republicans who get checks written to them by billionaires would want that. But that's not all they hold out of the bill. And again, if you're really, I mean, Chip Roy, I mean, he's very indignant. He's very upset about spending. I mean, if you're upset about spending, Well, why one of the smallest provisions? Again, it protects your corporate donors. That's what that's really about. But what else? What else did they take out? One second. Pull this up. All right, this is the one that's just gonna, if screwing over kids to protect your donors doesn't piss you off, this is the one that's going to send you next level into orbit. Everybody knows who this guy is. Mark Cuban. His latest venture is Cost Plus Drug Company. He is doing this not just to make money. This is a personal crusade for him. As somebody that's run businesses, he takes a look at, where's the hole in the bucket? Where's the money going? One of the ways they get you is they keep stacking services and people in between you and the service you need. We talked about health insurance companies, how I told you they serve no damn purpose whatsoever. They're just between you and your doctor, where it should be a direct relationship between you and your doctor. The doctor should get paid by the government through single payer, through Medicare for all. Health insurance companies are just a profit-making entity that has nothing to do with your health care. Well, there's another layer in there that's even worse and even less regulated. Joy Lewis, did they remove the pay raise for themselves in the bill? Yeah, no kidding, right? Peter Campbell, I am a thinking person, and I'm always glad to listen to this community. Thanks, Paul, for yet another link in our chain of knowledge. This discussion is so needed and so appreciated. I am hoping that I'm getting this out. And no, they didn't remove their pay raise, Joy, to answer your question. But here's the thing. There is, and this is what Mark Cuban was so just horrified by and has gone to war against. It's called a pharmacy benefit manager, or a pharmaceutical benefit manager, or PBM. What a PBM is they are a middleman between the insurance company, which I told you is unnecessary anyways. It's just taking billions of dollars from you for their own existence that has nothing to do with healthcare. That's just profit. In between the health insurance company, which is here, we have you, the health insurance company, and over here you have the pharmaceutical company. In between these two is a pharmacy benefit manager. And what they do is they negotiate contracts between the drug manufacturers and what your health insurance company will pay for them. And there is no regulation on these people. None whatsoever. Theoretically, they're supposed to be the client of, kind of like a real estate agent is, they're a client of either the seller or the buyer. They're supposed to theoretically and ethically declare, am I working for the insurance company or am I working for the pharmaceutical company? Because they can work for either. There is no regulation on this. And they're negotiating the cost of drugs between the manufacturer and the insurance company. Now, here's the thing. They're not. They're negotiating between the manufacturers and themselves, and then between themselves and the insurance company. Their fees are supposed to be paid because they're representing one or the other. That's where they're supposed to be getting paid. But they're not. Their longest green, their biggest money, is they've created an unregulated dark market for themselves. They take the contracts for the drugs, mark them up, and then turn around and resell them to insurers. And that difference between what they paid for the drugs and what they contract for the drugs is called the spread. This bill killed that practice. It killed the spread. Samita Faketa, Vivek, and Elon need to go. I agree with you, and thank you for the support. I really appreciate you. You're the only reason I can do this. I'm grateful. Thank you. Are you following me? Didn't make benefit managers illegal. It didn't even regulate them. It just took that practice of them creating their own dark market of buying drug contracts, marking them up, and then selling drug contracts to insurance companies out of existence. And Republicans said, we want them doing that. They write us checks. We're good with that. We like that. You need to think about that. That's just pure profit, pure expense. Who pays it? You do. The insurance company doesn't eat that. The insurance company's got to make a profit. Remember, that's why everybody's in business, right? To make a profit. Well, the insurance companies aren't going to eat that. They're just going to raise their prices. They're going to raise their prices to the company you work for, and they're going to raise their prices to you when you buy the drugs. And the company you work for is not going to eat that. Whatever service or good your company produces, well, they're not going to eat that. What are they going to do with that? They're going to pass that on to the consumer, their customer. This bill had a provision in it to end the PBM spread. Democrats stepping up. This is the kind of thing that Democrats ask for. When we govern, we say, no, we're not just going to stick a whole nother profit layer into the cost of healthcare. No, we're not just going to invent a new market. And Republicans are like, no, we want that. We want that. And Mark Cuban's entire company, his entire endeavor is based on he buys directly from the manufacturers and sells directly to you. He cuts out all of those layers. And folks, these PBMs, they're in between Medicare. They're in between the Medicare Advantage plans. They are taxing us all for no reason. And Democrats were ending that practice. And again, this wasn't like regulating them. It wasn't regulating them. They're still the wild, wild freaking West out there. PBMs are just basically just to do whatever the hell they want. Rich, appreciate you here being here. Thanks for breaking this down for it. That's why we get together, folks, so you can see, ignore the shiny objects, ignore Chip Roy and his indignation about, deficits. We got to stop the deficits. Y'all should be ashamed. And say, no, man, Chip Roy's going to get paid. The stuff they're hauling out of there has nothing to do with debt and deficit. What does ending this layer of extortion on you that you have no control of, that's completely unregulated, have to do with debt and deficits? It's actually just the opposite. It adds to it. It adds to it. And this is my man, Hakeem Jeffries. They are not, I'm very proud of the Democrats today. They are not taking this. They are not letting this happen. They're not going to provide the votes for this to happen. Again, here, this is a scene on Blue Sky. Great source. Great source. This is what he does: is he takes these speeches and cuts out the relevant videos out of them.
It's because the provisions in this bill, particularly as it relates to suspending the debt ceiling for 2 years, are designed to bring about a massive tax cut, unpaid for wealthy donors and for wealthy corporations, for millionaires and billionaires who clearly some in this Congress are working for. And this bill is validation for it. Now, what's been interesting to me is that for decades, the Republican Party has lectured America about fiscal responsibility, about the debt and the deficit. It's always been phony. This bill proves it. It's because
Amen. Because the tax cuts in the bill add to the debt and deficit. We talked about that in the last show. We broke it down. And this adds to the debt and deficit. Hulling out that portion of it that actually takes away this whole other layer of profit that there's no good reason for. Health insurance companies could negotiate directly. PBMs don't have to be there. This is just extortion. So yeah, Chip Roy sitting up there talking about debt and deficit, and you should be ashamed. And this pretend thing is a shiny object for the stupid MAGA voters, so they can continue to pretend. You know, when you ask people that voted for Trump, they're like, I don't like Trump. A lot of I'm telling you, the exit polling was freaking heartbreaking in this last election. So many people just held on to stupid fantasies. I don't like Trump, but Republicans are better on the economy, so I went ahead and voted Trump, which is provably, statistically untrue. But people believe it. Why? Same reason people believe that Republicans care about deficits. They've never cared about deficits. But they've got Chip Roy out there pretending, acting. You've got a whole segment of the Republican Party that is running to any camera that will focus on them and talking about, well, we can't do this because, you know, debts and deficits. And you've got the corporate media that are absolutely going to continue that narrative for them. So you're going to get the stupids out there that vote for them over that. Mr. Campbell, thank you for the support. Always here, my brother. Our Democratic Republic is not a for-profit venture except for the well-being of its citizens. Exactly. But yeah, this is ABC and their sane washing. If you read this article, this is an article by Sarah Kalinovsky. She is, you can tell by reading the article, reality's starting to set home. We are entering the tunnel of find out. But if you look at the headline, you can tell, yeah, those that still hold the lever of power are still sane washing, because the headline here doesn't match the article. It says, what is the debt ceiling? And is Trump right? The default could mean nothing. But when you go on and read the article, it explains, no, it means something. It really means something. It's a big freaking deal. But Trump he's a stupid man. He's a very stupid man. He's just a grifter. Grifters don't have to be smart. They just have to understand people. They just have to understand how to con people. But he's a stupid man. And the statements he made about what happens if we default are insane. They go through it in the article. They talk about, well, it's just not going to be that big a deal. Nothing's really going to happen to you. Let me just give you one idea. Not an idea, but one repercussion of us defaulting on the debt. Putin has been working forever to get people, especially the oil industry, to move away from dollars. People like dollars because of our institutions, because we do things like, I don't know, not default on our debt ever. Stability. Markets like stability. Markets like stability. They don't like instability. They don't like chaos. But Putin has been working forever. That's what BRICS is all about, to try to come up with a counter currency. This is Nigel Farage in the UK and his Elon Musk funded movement, why they are so vehement about keeping the UK out of Europe, because Europe has the euro. It's a consolidated currency that could challenge the dollar. It could become another stable currency in the world. Putin doesn't want that. Putin's a gangster. He wants the chaos, because in chaos, gangsters can steal. If you're not strong, you don't want order. You want chaos. That's what Putin is. Putin is weak, and he's a gangster. He opposes the euro because it's stability. That's why, his online efforts and his spy agencies and everybody helps Nigel Farage. That's why Elon Musk helps Nigel Farage. It's chaos. Well, one of the first thing that happens here when we default. Thanks for the support, Mary. I appreciate it. Yeah, I love Hakeem Jeffries. He is going to be one of the best speakers we have ever had in this country. He is really good. He is really good. He's a decent human being. He's just a decent human being. Beyond the fact that he is incredibly capable. But yeah, one of the first things that happens if we default on our debt, our currency becomes incredibly unstable. That's just it. Because we're not backing our dollar anymore. That's what defaulting means. Interest rates will immediately soar. Immediately, interest rates will go sky. If you have a variable rate credit card or a variable rate mortgage, any variable rate debt will become astronomically expensive overnight. But I mean, what does a guy that lives in bankruptcy care about that? Bankruptcy's never hurt him, right? I mean, why not do it to the country? He's an idiot. He does not understand governing. He does not understand business and government isn't the same thing. Yes, there is a type of business run by grifters and scam artists that live in freaking bankruptcy. Donald Trump, I would not do business with Donald Trump for any freaking reason. For the same reason I won't do business with Elon Musk. But it's just, I mean, it's disgusting. It is disgusting that Republicans have elected somebody. They were so stupid and so worried about their bigotry and so worried about hating people that they worried about stupid things. And Republicans ran ads about stupid. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Meanwhile, what happens when we default on our debt? Your interest rates soar. Right. Okay. Well, the U.S. military eventually stops getting paid. Yeah. No, I mean, critically, all critical everything under orders. They will stay on the job and this, that, and the other, and they will get paid for a certain amount of time. But no, that runs out in time. Veterans benefits stop. Veterans benefit. I know a lot of old folks that really rely on those veterans benefits. They stop. Postal workers and federal employees get furloughed. They go home. Yeah, your government shuts down. All of those things that Republicans like to pretend the government doesn't do because the government's bad. Yeah, all those things that are necessary stop. And Elon Musk is out there telling everybody, don't worry about it. Critical functions will stay in place for a while. They will. In the midst of hyperinflation, markets crashing, and complete chaos, you will have a bare minimum, bare bones government. Meanwhile, a few weeks in to default, seniors will stop receiving their Social Security checks. That really will happen if they don't solve this issue and raise the debt ceiling. FEMA stops making payments. All that rental assistance, all that stuff. FEMA stops making payments. But Donald Trump doesn't. Nothing really will happen. Nothing will really happen. He's a moron. He's a complete moron. All your child nutrition programs, your local school receives federal fundings to subsidize its school lunches and all that funding that goes through it. It all stops. It all stops. So let's talk about the debt ceiling. We've talked about it before, but we got a lot of new people. Thank you for joining us. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, do it. It's just like the follow button on other social media platforms. Makes it easy for you to find me. Gives me a little boost in the algorithm. Hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button. We talk about stuff like this here. But let's talk about the debt ceiling. The debt ceiling is an antiquated old device that was put in place back in the day when we rode horses. When we rode in buggies and had to take steam trains to get to Washington, D.C. It was a check so that the government, while representatives were out in their districts, because remember, they weren't supposed to live in Washington, D.C. They were supposed to just represent you in Washington, D.C. When it could take weeks to sometimes months to get to Washington, D.C. for some of these people, the debt ceiling was a check. It was a stopgap. It was to prevent the government from going insane while people weren't in D.C. Well, folks, you can get to D.C. in a couple of hours from anywhere. There's really no need for the debt ceiling. RJ, the plan is to crash the economy, it seems to me. Man, I think it's worse than that. I don't think they have a plan. I think it's just grifters grifting, trying to get what they can. And I think the dumbest grifter of all doesn't really know the damage he's doing. I don't think he really understands. We've talked about this before. Billionaires aren't special people. They're just right place, right time, and most of them are sociopaths. They're not big picture people. Marcia Klepper, good to see you, Marcia. Fellow Texan, I'm due to get my first Social Security payment next week. I'm holding them on. Yeah, folks, I don't mean to, I told you, I'm not a fear monger. I'm not. But if this debt ceiling deal doesn't get done, eventually the Social Security checks stop coming. Coach Share, thank you for support. Liberty cannot be preserved without a general knowledge among the people who have a right and desire to know. John Adams, 1775. Yes. Remember when we used to think that it was access to information and we needed the internet? And that would fix that. Everybody would have access to information and it would all be better. Yeah, that wasn't it. That wasn't it. But now Donald Trump has figured something out. He has. He's taken a look at this whole debt ceiling thing and realized that's a double-edged sword. Yeah, they're going to extend the debt ceiling eventually to about March is what they're aiming at right now. Guess who's president in March? Donald Trump. And Donald Trump doesn't want to deal with Democrats and the debt ceiling. You know how Republicans have, every time the debt ceiling comes up, they have blackmailed us for something for their Johnny Got Rocks donors. Right now, it's an extension of these insane tax cuts is what they're blackmailing us for now. They're going to blow up the deficit some more for more tax cuts. You notice Chip Roy didn't talk about those. He just talked about spending. He didn't talk about what was really, really contributing to the debt, which is those billionaire tax cuts. Didn't talk about that at all. But Donald Trump has figured out he doesn't like that debt ceiling. And he doesn't want it. And he's insisting that any deal going forward that they eliminate the debt ceiling. And Republicans are going, what? That's our favorite blackmail tool. That's our favorite blackmail tool. And moderate Republicans are going, what? Mike Johnson, you suck. You're our leader. You're supposed to be the one that's keeping Donald Trump informed. You're letting him blow up our Congress. Oh my God, we're hitting the find out stage. So yeah, come January 3rd, Mike Johnson doesn't even have support from the moderates. We're going back into the chaos. We're coming into a brand new presidency from a guy that claims he's going to be a dictator on day one. And right before that happens, the House is going to cease to function because we're not going to have a speaker. Because they're not going to be able to just get behind someone. You know, they've already said, even the moderates are saying, we're done with you, Mike Johnson. Remember how many votes, just vote after vote after vote after vote after vote, and they just couldn't come up with a candidate? Linda, this is why I said, if it continues, it won't happen immediately. It won't. And this is a great point, Linda. Even though, yeah, we hit our debt ceiling, so Social Security won't immediately stop. But if this chaos continues, that's what happens. That's what happens. And thank you, Linda, for making that point. If I didn't make it clear enough, it's if it continues. But I'm sitting here looking at this, man. Who's going to lead these freaks? They can't govern. They just can't. They've got an entire faction of their own caucus that just wants to burn it all down all the time. You've got delusional Mike Lee talking about a government for the people run by a billionaire that doesn't give a crap about the people. I mean, these people are insane. I mean, do you really think this guy, really gives a damn about the people? He just sat in his tower on high and called for taking $190 million worth of research for pediatric cancer out of a budget that was just a drop in the bucket. so that we didn't have data on cancer hotspots. I mean, you really think that guy gives a damn? I mean, it's just eliminating the middleman. I mean, right now you've got the billionaires that write checks to the Republicans. Why not just give them direct control, right? I mean, it's just insane. It is just insane. And this guy, one, I think he's just got such cognitive decline. I think he's just pudding brained. He really is just pudding brain. And he was stupid to begin with. He literally doesn't understand these basic functions of government and the repercussions of them not functioning, because he's just, oh, well, I'll declare bankruptcy. And he never loses his jet, and he never loses, his butler, and he never loses, his apartment in Fifth Avenue, in New York, and it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter, except for the fact that, yeah, eventually the Social Security checks run out, the VA checks run out, the FEMA checks run out. The government actually does shit for you, folks. It does. And no, you can't just say, oh, we're not going to pay our bills and have interest rates stay the same, have the markets keep functioning. They don't. This is what's happened, folks. This is the Dow. Just over the chaos, what triggered this over the last several days, what's triggered this, remember, we were on a straight, steady growth for the entire Biden administration. What triggered this? Chaos. Trump promised interest rates would go back to where they were under COVID. They were talking about negative, folks, they were talking about negative interest rates, literally paying you to borrow money. And Trump was promising to go back to those days. And those people I keep telling you aren't that bright. We're thinking, oh, yeah, that's going to happen. Let's plan our business model around that. That's really going to happen. No, it wasn't. It was never going to happen. And Jerome Powell, who actually isn't insane, said, folks, if we cut interest rates like that, you're going to have hyperinflation. It's going to destroy your economy. No, we're not doing it. We're going to continue to slowly cut interest rates. Now hear me. He said they're going to continue to cut them, but he just wasn't going to cut them to like 1% overnight. Think about that. Think about that, folks. He said they're going to continue to cut interest rates. He just said we're going to do it in a methodical way that doesn't cause hyperinflation. And the markets tanked on that. They tanked because to them, that was chaos. They really believed that by getting Donald, folks, let this sink in. I keep telling you, we're in a class warfare. We're in a class war. We're in a class war with people that don't live in reality. They don't. They just don't live in reality. They are not big picture people. They literally built their business models off of a promise that Donald Trump was going to cut interest rates severely. And they know All the data is there. Wharton School of Business didn't go away overnight. There were people that, let me explain to you, if we radically cut interest rates, that's going to cause massive inflation, and that's going to cause people to not be able to buy your products. So your business is going to be destroyed if we do that. I mean, that information was available, but they still built their business models, incurred tons of debt buying up products. Remember that gap we were talking about? Buy the products pre-tariff. They just took everything that they've learned over the last 2 decades, 3 decades, utilizing technology to keep, to control your logistics chains. Remember how every season, at the end of every season, there used to be a really big clearance. I mean, store-wide. It wasn't just like a clearance aisle. It was a store-wide clearance. I know some of y'all have white beards and gray hair also. Some of y'all may be beautifully color that gray hair, but underneath it, there's some gray hair. You remember those days. You remember that was a big freaking deal. Being able to buy a coat for 10 cents on the dollar because, it was still winter outside, but the new season had started. The spring clothes were here. That's all gone because they used technology to learn to control their logistics. What did these geniuses do? They threw it all away. They said, tariffs are coming. I got a good way to make money. We'll buy warehouses and warehouses and warehouses and warehouses full of shit before the tariffs come. And then when the tariffs come, we'll say, tariffs are here. Got to raise our prices. And we'll sell all that stuff that we bought without tariffs as though we bought it with tariffs. And we'll just put that money in our pocket. Well, you know what that relied on? Credit. That relied on credit, cheap credit. That relied on the false notion, the fake ass promise that Donald Trump made that he was going to cut interest rates overnight, which can't happen. And they knew it can't happen, but they took real money, really filled real warehouses that they have to pay for, full of real products, on that fake ass promise of slashed interest rates. And when Jerome Powell said the very reasonable thing that should have been great news for everybody, that yes, interest rates will still continue to come down, but they'll come down at a measured rate so as to not affect inflation. Should have been great news. If this was a Biden administration, the markets would continue to skyrocket upward. But just that statement was enough for the find out phase to come home. Oh shit. We took all our liquid capital. We didn't pay out bonuses. Our employees are pissed off now. We've got warehouses full of crap. And Donald Trump lied to me. I can't believe he lied to me. So the market's tanked. Chaos, folks. Freaking chaos. And now they're playing chicken with the debt ceiling. And the Republicans are in such chaos, but they can't even keep a speaker. I wish I had better news for you. I wish I had news for you, but elections have consequences. And I told you over and over and over again before the election. I told everybody that would listen, elections have consequences. Democrats, we may be boring, but we keep the lights on. You know what to expect. Things keep moving in the right direction. Yeah, we don't get it all right overnight. We don't. But Republicans blow shit up. And here we go. Here we go. That's exactly what's happening. So I hope that's an explanation of why they killed the bill in the first place. I hope you understand that it had nothing to do with debts and deficits, had everything to do with special interests, like, I don't know, waterfront real estate deals in DC, making sure that you didn't have access or researchers didn't have access to cancer hotspots, data on cancer hotspots. And folks, this isn't like just some one-off. These are really the things they took out of the bill. They really took out of the bill pharmaceutical benefit managers not being able to contract the spread. They took that out of the bill. And they're really selling, and the corporate media is really helping them sell. And folks, look, I tell people all the time, every single time I post a thumbnail, I'm like, please be in the live chat. You people are informed, you're intelligent, you're successful. You have access to people in your families who aren't. Come on, we all do. I really need you to find a way to communicate with yours and your own. Because they're really doing this, folks. I mean, they really just did that. That money that was getting taken out of your pocket, their pocket, everybody's pocket with policy benefits managers, Republicans really just did that. They took a negotiated bill and they hauled that out to appease President Musk and Vice President Trump. Randy, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I appreciate it and appreciate the support. Cannot do this without you, folks. I really can't. I really can't. I cannot do this show without you. Monica Meadows, heard there was a possibility they would put Elon as a speaker. Yeah, we just, Monica, I know you're late to the show because we talked about that. Go back and watch the replay. Yeah, they're literally talking about, you have at least 2 senators that are going to nominate him on January 3rd. When they go to reelect a new speaker, Elon Musk's name is going to come up. E.T., thank you, brother. I appreciate you for always being here. Dominoes towards the next Great Depression. Man, going into the roundtable part of the show, because we've got several minutes left. Actually, no, we got one more thing. We've got to talk about an update in Syria, and then we'll go to the roundtable. But E.T., yeah, this is not boding well. This is really not boding well. This kind of chaos over these simple things, man, imagine when it gets hard. Imagine when it gets complicated. Imagine when there are like real consequences. Not the difference between, we're going to cut interest rates at a measured rate versus, we're going to cut them all overnight. I mean, real things. When, like they say, oh my God, we've got hyperinflation, and the only way to stop hyperinflation is we've got to ratchet up interest rates to, I don't know, back what they were under Reagan. Remember 16% interest rates under Reagan? That's where this chaos gets us, folks. Reagan was a shitty president. He was a shitty president. 16% interest rates under Reagan. And we're going back there because your average person, I swear to God, folks, I've been reading, and I have been reading the exit polling because I need to know. I need to know what people were thinking. I need to know why people voted the way they voted. And it's heartbreaking, the things that people still believe. If you're a grandma, can you, if you don't mind putting your hand up, if you're a grandma, let me see you. Let me see who, just let me hear from you in the chat. While that's going on, I want to see who the grandmas are out there. I want to talk to you real quick about something that's happening in Syria. We've talked about how the territory breaks down, but there's some really chaotic interests that are going on. This is the SNA. They call themselves the Syrian National Army, this purple area. We told those are directly, they have direct fealty to Turkey. The green area here is HTS, and we've talked about Al-Shara and the head of the ATS and what's going on with them. They have, I won't say fealty, but they owe Turkey. Their attack was so successful because Turkey provided them intelligence. So they've got a relationship with Recep Erdogan. They do. The Kurds, we supported. We provided them logistical support, and we provided them with intelligence. That's why the Kurds were so successful. But I told you it gets really complicated because this region here in the yellow, which is controlled by the SDF, that's the Kurds. The SDF, that's the Kurds. That's where the oil's at, folks. That's where the oil's at. There's a belt that runs through this region all the way through northern Iraq. You heard about the northern Iraqi oil fields. There are also southern Iraqi oil fields, but there's this belt that runs all the way from Turkey to Iran. A belt. It's a pocket of oil. It's one of the most productive oil regions in the world. And the Kurds are sitting on top of it. And I said, look, this is going to be a problem for the Kurds. It is. Because they're doing this. They want their homeland. They want their homeland. And they're sitting on oil. That makes them a target for a lot of people. And it also scares the shit out of the Turks and Recep Erdogan. Because the Turks have engaged in, that word genocide gets thrown around so damn much. But there really has been a genocide against the Armenians in Turkey and the Kurds. They still persecute the Kurds in Turkey to this day. Amy, that's a whole nother show, man. We'll talk about it. I promise you, we'll talk about it in the next show. We will. Flynn is in the middle of all of this mess. He really is. But back to what we're talking about with the situation the Kurds are in. Ahmed al-Shara he's the head of the HTS. I told you, he is not walking around like he is some cleric. He's not. He has shed his military uniform. He's put down his AK-47. He is meeting with everyone that will talk to him. He just did an interview here with the BBC, which get international news, folks. Don't just suck up our corporate media. Our corporate media is useless anymore. It really is just useless. But al-Shara has sat down with the BBC and outlined his plans. I told you he's ended the Captagon, the poor man's cocaine production that Syria was just famous for. They were funding everything off of drug dealing. He's ending that. But more importantly, al-Shara is saying, look, there's going to be peace with Turkey. There's going to be peace with Israel. It's making him a target on all sides. We talked about that in the last show. If he can pull this off, it'll be incredible. But it's complex, very complex, because the Turks are in full freak-out mode about the Kurds. Again, the Kurds would like this to become Kurdistan. But what they're doing now, and again, I keep telling you, this is changing. This is day to day, the way things are changing. The Kurds are not coming in hot and heavy. They're not coming in and making huge demands. They're actually being very, very compliant. This is Muslim Abdi. He runs the SDF, or the Kurds. He is their commander. The Turks are trying to keep this war going on. Netanyahu is trying to keep this war. That's why there are strikes going on in the Golan Heights. The people that cannot survive peace are trying to prevent peace. And Turkey is going, while they're not attacking each other on the battlefield, they will be. They will be. Turkey is politically going after the SDF and trying to weaken them, and he's succeeding. This is what's happened in the last day. The SDF denied that Kurds from other regions came to fight in Syria because that was a big red line for Turkey. Turkey told HTS, you don't get any intelligence or anything if Kurds are migrating to northeastern Syria. We're not going to have that. When you have committed a genocide against a people, the thought of those people getting stability, a homeland, the relations that come with oil and the wealth that comes with oil is terrifying to you. On top of that, Erdogan, we've talked about it in the past, Recep Erdogan has been open and vocal about his dream of reestablishing the Ottoman Empire. That's why he supported the forces in northern Syria to the extent he did. That is why he supported HTS and helped overthrow Assad. This was his move. Well, his nightmare again is a strong, safe Kurdish people because they hate Turkey. They absolutely hate Turkey for a reason. I mean, for a reason. So what we have is the Kurdish leader saying, I promise you, all of these foreign Kurdish fighters that came to support us, I'm sending them home. I'm sending them home. Thank you. We've succeeded. This is the announcement he's made to his own people that came to Syria from Iraq, from Iran. I told you, there's a state in Iran called Kurdistan. There's a province called Kurdistan in Iran. From all over the region, they flooded into Syria to support the Kurds in Syria because they really want a homeland. So the leader of the SDF is saying, look, I appreciate you. We've won, but we're not going to make that demand overnight. We're not going to do that. We're going to vie for an autonomous region under Syria. We're going to support Ahmed al-Shara. I would like you to go home now. And they're voluntarily weakening themselves. Here's where it gets bad. That's foolish. That's dumb. You have it's like Patton in World War II. He's like, I've got the tanks here. I've got the troops here. Fight the Russians now. And everybody had a belly full of fighting and said no. And they rolled up a newspaper and they smacked Patton in the mouth for saying it. Well, the Kurds are making the same stupid mistake. They have the forces. They have the strength. They can negotiate against HTS and say, look, we want Kurdistan. We'll be your allies. We fought together as brothers. We fought together as friends, but they are not doing that. Sorry, I had to ban a troll. They are not doing that. They're saying we're going to work with al-Shara and we're going to develop an autonomous region in Syria, and we're going to weaken ourselves so that we're not a threat to Turkey. Erdogan wants to reestablish the Ottoman Empire. The heart and the soul of the Ottoman Empire was two things: the Suez Canal and oil. And the Kurds are sitting on the oil. And the Turks already hate the Kurds. I mean, I cannot stress to you, because we don't understand that here in the United States. It's difficult for us to understand because we love our maple flavored friends. We love Canada. And despite the bigots here, they love to go to Mexico. They do. These same bigots that attack Mexicans all the time here in the United States take their asses on cruise ships to Mexico and sit on the beach at Playa del Carmen and Cozumel, and they love Mexico. So they cannot understand two people sitting on a border with each other that hate each other to the point that they want to kill each other. And you have the Turks, who have spent the last several decades reconstituting and modernizing their army and their military, sitting just north of the Kurds, who are sitting on a bunch of oil that were the heart and soul of the Ottoman Empire, with a leader in Recep Erdogan, who has told you, just like the Republicans told you, we're going to get rid of Roe v. Wade. Oh, no, we're not. Oh, they'll never do that. It's settled law. It's settled law. I dare you. Challenge me. Challenge me. Challenge me on what I'm saying. Erdogan said the exact same thing. I'm going to remake the Ottoman Empire. That means taking northeast Syria. That means taking all of Syria eventually. Believe these people. And where I'm going with this is that means the chaos I was afraid of is going to happen sooner rather than later. It's going to happen sooner rather than later. But yeah, that's what's going on in Syria. That's what's going on in our government right now. I want to take a second to say thank you to a few people. Edith, I got it. I emailed you that I got it. Folks, if y'all have never, I've watched her TED Talk. I do things like listen to economists. And no, not every economist says the same thing. And there are some economists out there that are smarter than others. Stephanie Kelton really is shaking up the entire economics world. She's really, really smart. She is very, very smart. And she's got a TED Talk. Again, I don't ask you to go read her book. I'm not. And Edith, thank you for sending me this. She's got a TED Talk out. It's like 15 minutes long, where she explains why this whole nonsense about deficits and fear deficits and whatnot is crap. It's actual crap. And she explains why it's no different for a country as it is for a company. Debt can actually be a good thing. And she explains it away. Like Midas Touch and Legal AF, how they do a great job. They'll take a complicated legal issue and they will break it down in a way, just layman's terms, where you can understand it. Stephanie Kelton does a great job. I highly recommend it. Go to YouTube, just do a search for Stephanie Kelton. You'll see her TED Talk there, and in about 50 minutes, you'll understand it. Thank you for the buck, Edith. I really appreciate you. And I want to say, really, y'all's generosity is off the charts insane. And I'm really grateful. I am really grateful. I don't have one of the bags here, but I've got the receipt here. Marty and Dave, thank you for that much Kittytown coffee. Today's show is powered. All my caffeine comes directly from Kittytown Vanilla. Thank you. Appreciate you. I got it. It's here. That was incredibly generous of you. Folks, I haven't had to buy coffee in like 6 months. Y'all are incredible. Between the Pete's and the Kitty Town y'all keep sending me, I'm not kidding. I have not bought coffee in forever. My doctor would like to have a word with y'all because she doesn't feel like I should be consuming that much coffee. And I need to ask, thank you. I appreciate you. I got it. Sent me 2 huge, look at the size of that bag. Sent me 2 of these, 2 different flavors, vanilla, and this is butternut toffee. Cannot wait to dig into that. I cannot wait. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate you. I do need to ask for a favor, though. Another generous gift. And I want to just say I'm grateful. These, it's like the slaughter painting. Never saw that coming. I always wanted one, never bought one. I'm tight, man. I won't do it. The gift of the slaughter painting was incredible. That's why I can't bear to take it down. I just can't. Until I get rid of this stupid gun cabinet, get him out on the wall, it's going to sit there. But no, I just got sent another really, really cool piece of art. But I need help. I need help. I do. Ron and Casey, thank you. I won't give your last names on the air, but Ron and Casey, I really appreciate you. This is a piece of art from Casey. I can't show it to you yet. It's still in the tube, Casey. I took it out and it conformed. I don't know if it was the temperature changes or what, but it is in a tight spiral. And this is what I need your help with. It is an amazing print. It's a cowboy, and he's adjusting his chaps. It's the same theme as what we've got back here. Very similar theme, but it's just a beautiful print. But I can't unroll it all the way. I can unroll it in sections. I don't want to damage it. It doesn't want to. It's not cooperating. So Casey or anybody, my email address is on my website. It's www.realtexaspaul.com. If you have, because I'm not going to damage this. I need to get this out of this tube. I can take it out. I don't want to put a heat gun on it. How do I get this thing to unfurl without damaging it? Because it's beautiful. It really is. It is. I mean, it's just really get your attention. You think a steamer? What I was going to try to do is maybe, I don't know, y'all tell me what you think. I've got for chickens and whatnot, I've got infrared heat lamps. And I was thinking about putting one up away from it and then just laying it out after the holidays. I've got the dining room table. I was thinking about laying it on the dining room table, just let it naturally sit. It's kind of curled up with a heat lamp near it. And maybe it would relax. I don't know. Y'all tell me. I can't wait to show you this. It's incredible. But thank you for all the generous gifts. Thank you for all the support. I am really grateful. I hope the information that I gave you today was helpful. We went a bit long. I'm sorry we can't do the roundtable. We'll do a roundtable in the next show. And thank you for all the information that you keep sending me. I have 2 farmers contributing regularly in emails information about what's going on in the farming industry and reactions that are going on from inside the industry to what's going on with Donald Trump. It is really good to be able to get actual straight. And one of them is a smaller hobby farmer. One of them is a full-blown, I'm farming 1,000 acres farmer that is giving me direct information. The stuff that y'all email me, I tell people all the time, you folks are an incredible group. You are. That's not me kissing your ass. The diversity, you're from all over the world. The information that we're here, that we're able to share, I never in my life imagined that we would be able to go this far and form the kind of group we have. Thank you for spending time with me. Thank you for allowing me to know you. I appreciate you. Enjoy some Texas cities at night.